It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Fantatrax TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine indeed. We're back once again with your weekly recap of everything Star Wars and Lucasfilm. Joining me, Brian Cameron, as always, my co-host, Mr. Paul Naylor.
Hey, Brian, good to see you.
Did you have a nice holiday, Paul?
I did. And you know what? It was capped off very nicely by watching the pre-recorded show that we did. What a great show that was.
Yeah, but we're back live tonight. We've got a whole plethora of news to pile through. Lots been happening in the last 2 weeks. So do you want to check out what we've got coming up on the show?
Yeah, let's do that.
Coming up first, we're going to be talking the High Republic. Seeds of Starlight has come to Audible, a new Audible exclusive book. And we'll be also checking out all the January 2025 comic solicitations from Marvel.
And then we've got, obviously, the the recent news of Simon Kinberg's association with the Star Wars trilogy, which raised a few eyebrows, and I'm sure will be, fingers crossed, will go ahead. And then we'll be going into Jabba's court and sort of evaluating whether or not Rey is going to be essential to the future of Star Wars.
Yep. Then we'll be recapping everything that came out of D22 Brazil. Primarily Andor getting its screening date for Disney Plus of 22nd April next year. And we've also got from Disney Plus a new trailer promoting all the 2025 shows, and we'll be checking that out.
Yep. Then we've got Skeleton Crew. We've got the baton being handed to the young Giacchino now to do the music. And then we'll be having a look at Tony Gilroy and how he's going to be expanding what we already know about the fourth moon of Yavin.
Yep. It's that time of year again. So StarWars.com is back with their Gift the Galaxy weekly promotion of Star Wars products. We'll be seeing what horrors are in there that you could
and there will be some there will be some horrors, but it's a shame it's not Halloween. And then we'll finish things off very nicely with a look at the latest teaser trailer for the Skeleton Crew, which lands in the US on December the 3rd and with us in the UK on the 4th.
Yeah, something to do on a cold, frosty morning, I think.
Definitely.
So a stack of news there to keep us busy and keep us talking tonight. So let's get on with the show, I think.
Yay!
And this is when I realise I've left the news right at the end, so we have to go all the way back to the start. What a great start of the show! We're live, people. We're live.
That was our very own teaser trailer, just there. You see
that. The High Republic Seeds of Starlight is arrived on Audible. It's an Audible exclusive, a new audiobook written by George Mann. Landed on the 14th of November. This is kind of part of Audible's new deal with Disney, where they're releasing more and more exclusive books, and we're going to get more as this story, the Seeds of Starlight story, continues next year as well. I think it was it Portsmouth that Mr. Newbuild went to? There was the convention early in the year.
Yes.
George Mann kind of teased that a little bit at that show. If you go back on Panther Tracks TV, you can check out the panel from there. But more High Republic stories, continuing the third phase of the little mini franchise that they've got going there. People will be delighted to get another audiobook. And the story pretty much quickly wrapping up, I believe. So that's
good.
Excitement for literature readers. Moving quickly on, we also have the Marvel solicitations for January 2025, Paul.
That's a great cover. I love that cover.
Yeah, we have a whole stack of new comics, new storylines for the new year as well. First up, continuing the Battle of Jakku story, we have issues 2 and 3 and 4 as the Battle of Jakku rages on. This is obviously a little bit of a prequel to The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And you'll find out how the Star Destroyer ended up crashed there, which you kind of already know if you've picked up other bits of literature, but this is just a nice retelling of everything that kind of went on in that time frame.
Nice though, isn't it? I mean, that would make a great animated TV series. Be fantastic.
Yeah, and Mon Mothma as well, back in this storyline as well. Nice to be moving into this era of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Talking of new eras of Star Wars, a new legacy from a host of Star Wars writers celebrating 10 years of Star Wars comics with Marvel. We've got Charles Soule, Kieran Gillen, Jason Aaron all coming back. We're going to get Darth Vader, Tarkin, Dr. Aphra, Valance, everybody you can imagine that's appeared over the last 10 years. And it's all going to clash in one big story to commemorate 10 years of Star Wars comics being back with Marvel. It doesn't feel like 10 years.
That doesn't, does it? That is a blink of an eye kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very strange. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, I love that.
And fans of the Ewoks, not me. I've got the continuation of their storyline as well in Star Wars Ewoks issue 4 arriving in January, and hopefully that Gorax catches up with them, is all I can say.
Turns him into a pencil case. That is a lovely cover, though. I do like that.
A very nice cover.
Yeah.
Ahsoka continues as it gets ready to start filming in 2025 as well, a second series.
Yeah.
Rodney Barnes obviously headlining that series. It continues with issue 7. And lovely artwork again there on the cover. It's a great story, but obviously it's following the TV show, so we kind of know where it's going.
Yeah.
And but it's always good, I think, to Marvel have made a point of covering most of the Star Wars TV shows with comics, and so it's good to have that as well.
Yeah. I'm going to put you a bit on the spot here, Brian. Right, so forgive me. What is the sort of circulation like for these comics? Are they widely read?
They are not as widely read as they once were. It would be fair to say. Readership has dropped somewhat. But the most popular comics will do circa 100,000.
Okay, that's a reasonable amount.
The less popular ones are doing 50 to 60,000 range.
So they're the ones to buy.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, they're the ones that are going to be rarer.
But
yeah, it's comic market's difficult. It's changed. It's difficult to measure because obviously there's digital comics as well now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a different market. It's not nearly as popular as it once was. I don't think it's going to recover. I think it's just that the day of people heading to their local comic book shop every Wednesday or Thursday, depending on where in the world you live, is kind of gone. Hi, Jonathan. Good to see you there in the chat.
Hi, Jonathan. Hi, mate.
But yeah, it's that era. It kind of feels like it's disappeared. I don't see it recovering. It kind of just feels like a medium that isn't going to be popular as time moves forward. We've moved so much more on to short video content that it kind of feels like, comics are going to move towards short form animation is kind of where I see it going, which is controversial because it's not a comic if it's animated.
Do you think it struggles from the fact that there are so many spin-offs from essentially a Star Wars comic, and there's all these different types of story strands going on?
Marvel definitely plays safe in terms of what they're doing. If you compare it to what I call the golden age of Star Wars comics, which were the 1990s with Dark Horse. Dark Horse were doing radical, dangerous storylines and that were really controversial. Really pushed the boundaries in all sorts of different ways that we're just not seeing with Marvel at all. Marvel's just very by the numbers safe, it feels like. And you can't blame the talent for that because obviously they work within the confines of what the publisher wants. But I just look back and Dark Horse were, they were doing a comic series that was all about the X-Men pilots, with no Jedi, no main stars in it. They were doing a comic series all about the Royal Guard, going back in time to Tales of the Jedi, going forward in time to Legacy. They were all over the timeline. We're trying different things, doing different things. Some of it stuck, some of it didn't. So you had great comics and you had awful comics. But it felt like it was challenging.
Yeah, it was more experimental, I suppose. I think they felt like they could take some chances and then see what people wanted. But anyway, I digressed. I do apologize.
And it is, Jonathan says there that spin-offs has become something a thing for a while, especially in comics and TV. Marvel needs to find its own kind of characters and rhythm, and it has in some regards with like the likes of Dr. Aphra, and it's gone back and it's picked out Valance again from the 1970s and focused,
which was great.
And some of that's been their best work. They did really interesting stuff with Darth Vader and the Handmaidens and going back over revisiting Naboo and things like that. So they have done interesting things, but too much of it is, like adaptations of the TV or what feels like very safe comics. And it's the question I always ask, and I say this for the TV, for the film, for the comics, for the books, is the question: what is Star Wars, and what are you trying to achieve? What direction are you trying to go in? What story are you trying to tell? And too often it feels like they're just telling stories, but there's no real direction.
That it's not going to come to a satisfactory conclusion because it can't, because it could effectively ruin timelines and whatever.
And but here we are. It's a new year that's promising new things. So let's see what way it goes for the new year will be. We'll be optimistic, I think, would be the way to.
It's not like right. He's back. Simon Kinberg has been cited to be writing and producing a new Star Wars trilogy. Very exciting news. I think there's some discussion as to whether this will actually evolve into being episodes 10, 11, and 12. Has that been confirmed or denied, Brian?
It's been neither confirmed or denied. Some publications are going with the idea that they've heard it's 10 to 12. Others are saying that that's definitely not the case. Who do you trust? The Hollywood Reporter or Variety? That's what it's boiling down to. It's kind of...
I would love to think that it would be 10, 11, and 12. I've got absolutely no issues with seeing a continuation in that time period. In many ways, it would be good because hopefully it could it would help me to give some resolution to episodes 8 and 9. I loved episode 7. I thought it was such a strong return for Star Wars. I know it trod a lot of old ground and it was basically a template from earlier films, but it was acted well. I thought Daisy was good in it. So it'd be interesting to see where this goes. And the fact that potentially, and I'm saying only potentially, that this means that the much talked about uh, Daisy led film has now become a trilogy, which to me would make sense that was what this actually is.
It's
Um,
been taken off the slate for 2026.
yes, yeah,
So it's no longer the December slate.
yeah. So they've removed it, so that sort of hints that perhaps that's what they're doing. They're going to be getting things prepped for a new trilogy. And it would be nice to think that maybe the episode 10, that's just me calling it that, episode 10 would air in the 50th anniversary
Yeah.
in 2027.
Um, are you happy that he's back?
Yeah, I just hope it sticks this time. I mean, I was going through his IMDb and all the things he's been associated with, and he has done some really good stuff. I mean, there are a few sort of banana skins in there as well, but for the most part, I think he's a solid choice. What about yourself? What do you think?
I'm not happy to
You're
be.
not.
Um, it's not my cup of tea. I just noticed my camera's frozen. Don't know why, but it's not working. But we'll try and resolve that.
Yeah,
The He was back for obviously the trilogy. He was in the writing room. He didn't end up getting a credit other than a thanks, which means that all of his ideas were rejected or rejected enough that there was no proportion of what he did
yeah,
was retained for um, uh, I guess enough retained in the final story. So I don't know what that tells you. He was also involved um, for Rogue One, and he got a thank you
yeah,
credit in that as well. Um, and that was kind of, I guess, odd. Um, why is he getting taken back if they weren't happy with his ideas the first time round?
yeah. Well, I think as Star Wars fans, we've kind of gotten used to this sort of announcement leading to nothing in the end. So I hope that's not going to be the case again because it just gets to be a bit embarrassing, to be honest. But maybe they feel that the setup there that he's now got, given from 7, 8, and 9, that he can do something moving forward. Um, but like it says in that text there, his original role was going to be a lot bigger in the sequel trilogy, and it came down to be deemed as being a consultant. And I suppose that's because some of the work that he would have done would have made its way through to the final trilogy. But
Yes.
yeah, greatly reduced role at that stage. Um, like I say though, surely as a franchise, they realize that they can't keep saying that people are going to be attached to a project and then suddenly it doesn't happen. They can't keep doing that. So hopefully this time he will stick with it. You know, that's down to that's down to bigger boys and girls than us though, isn't it?
Yeah. Um, it's the fact he's more of a producer than he is of a writer. Does that
Yeah.
tell us anything?
Um, I think it's interesting to see that he's not down as to direct these films. I think that there's probably a stronger link between writing and producing than writing and directing. Because as a producer, you know what you're going to need to achieve the story, doesn't necessarily mean that you're the right person to direct it. And I think that's where they've gone wrong in the past, where you've had people writing and directing it. Um, so yeah, I think the roles that he's allegedly got with this trilogy, I've got no issue with that. And like I say, when I looked at some of the things that he's done, he's been able to he's been able to pull off some pretty good um, ideas that have gone on to be quite successful films in their own right. So we don't necessarily need. There you go, me camera.
Yeah, I'll try and experiment in here. Bear with me.
But yeah, I personally, I think it's a good decision. And yeah, as Han would say, let's try and be positive about this.
I've got the most unflattering shot there.
Oh dear.
But it'll have to do, people, I'm afraid. I don't know what's happened, but my web camera has collapsed and gone out of shot. So I'm now trying it live with my iPhone.
We are waiting for some new kit to arrive, aren't
A
we?
new computer. Come on, Apple. Where is it? Um,
It all just adds to it. It adds to it.
Yeah. I think he's been given the job because Lucasfilm themselves have been unable to deliver anything new. And I
Yeah.
think they've basically looked at a producer and thought, right, he's a producer. He can be in charge of this whole project and he can actually bring it to screen because we've been unable to. And
Yeah.
I expect that he will bring in writers and he will bring in directors and his role will become smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
But he'll still be the front and face of the whole thing.
Yeah. He will essentially become like a production company within a production company.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I think we're at.
Yeah. Very much like JJ was with Bad Robot.
Yes.
Yeah, he will function in that way. Yeah.
So yeah, that's Simon Kinberg's the big news is this new trilogy. It's controversial, I guess.
Yeah, there's going to be people out there that are questioning it, but I think it's something we need to embrace and try and get across the line because let's face it, we've tripped up over our shoelaces enough trying to run this race, haven't we? So fingers crossed, this guy actually does provide something that we can engage with and all celebrate together for a change.
Absolutely. Time to go to Jabba's court.
Yeah, which links very nicely into this. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go there. So this week on Jabba's Court, we're talking about the future of Star Wars and is Rey essential to it? Mr. Naylor, that's been the big comment, I think, coming out in the last fortnight has been this suggestion that Rey is essential to the future of Star Wars. And that's Lucasfilm's kind of opinion on things. Do you agree?
I do actually. I think Daisy did an amazing job in episode 7. And obviously, along with Harrison Ford, really did carry that film. I thought she did a really good job. She proved that she could act, if given the right script. Episodes 8 and 9, as you know, I'm not a big fan of either of those films. And they suffered not from necessarily from how Daisy portrayed the character, but the script. There were a couple of questionable moments where she came across a bit wooden, but I'm wondering whether she actually did that deliberately because she hated the script. But no, I think that it's very difficult for the likes of you and I to put ourselves into the shoes of the youngsters that first got to know Star Wars through the sequel trilogy. And I would imagine there's going to be a lot of kids out there, probably now in their teens, early 20s, that for them that trilogy was their trilogy, is their trilogy. We've had chats about this before, Brian. People come into Star Wars at different jumping in points these days. Some people have come in through Rebels or the Clone Wars, so it's not always the cinematic adventures that have brought them on board. But there will be a vast amount of people that came on board with the Force Awakens. Now we can ascertain that because the box office for the Force Awakens was huge. So there will be a lot of kids that came on in that trilogy. Um, I think they will be delighted that Rey is going to potentially front a new trilogy if that is indeed what happens with the Kinberg project. It looks to me like it will be that because of what we were saying, that film that was slated for 2026 has now been removed. So I think that's giving Mr. Kinberg and crew chance to sort of get some ideas together, and hopefully, unlike the sequel trilogy, they will map out the three films rather than do just one film and then think, oh, where are we going to go next with this? Hopefully, they have the opportunity to lay down a proper roadmap, a proper ending of that trilogy that they can then work up to in a logical and sensible way. The prequel trilogy never had that struggle because it knew what it was leading up to. And the original trilogy does feel like a proper three-film story. There's a proper arc to it. So fingers crossed, this sequel trilogy, I don't know what we're going to call it. What are we going to call it? I mean, this goes back way back to some of the stuff that was in the original archive, saying that George Lucas's story was a 12-film story. That then got knocked back to 6 when the prequels came out. No, that's it. That's the whole story. Then we got the sequel trilogy, and now it looks like we're finally going back to that 12-film idea. I hope that's the case. I mean, as we've said, it could be that this trilogy is nothing to do with that episodic structure. I think it's more likely to be than not. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Brian?
I think it's kind of a sad indictment of Lucasfilm that we've gotten to the point where one character is essential in all that we have. It's bizarre that we've gotten to this situation. I probably don't disagree with them, but you're starting from a point of 50% of the fan base don't want to know. And that is a terrible place to be.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult because the way they ended 9 and they're calling her a Skywalker, she's not a Skywalker, she's a Palpatine. It'd be much more
Hopefully,
interesting if you had her fall to the dark side and continue the Palpatine line.
yeah.
But I don't think...
I'd like to think that she kind of drops that, or that somebody comes along and challenges it early on.
Yeah. I hope so, because I don't think as an actress she can play a dark side character.
No, I kind of see what you're saying there. It would be interesting because whilst it was never broached in the films, obviously we've got all sorts of different content that features Mara Jade, and Luke Skywalker's relationship with Mara. And who's to say that there's not a child lurking out there that's a Skywalker that hears about this pretender to the throne, and actually swoops in and challenges everything that's happened as a result of Episode 9. That would be the way I would tend to take it.
Yeah, I just find it unbelievable that with the whole franchise you've got in Star Wars, that their perception is that she is the one and single only character and only direction in which we can go. I just find it appalling that we're at that stage. I think it's a character that's divisive at best.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that the current group of people running Lucasfilm have really dropped the ball massively on Star Wars as a franchise, and I think it's time for them to go.
I wouldn't disagree with that. But I
And
think that
so I actually think what's essential for the future of Star Wars is Lucasfilm needs a clear out. And I think the people aren't fit to continue the franchise as it is sets, and I think they've proven that with the product that they've put out. I think they've lost so much of the existing fan base in pursuit of a fan base that's not there, that they haven't found. I think the first rule of anything is you take your existing fan base with you and then you build on it, and they haven't done that. And now to have a singular idea that this character who, and it's no criticism of Daisy at all, is this character that is divisive is the only direction that they've got to go when you've got a whole untapped franchise there of storylines and characters. It's just sad.
Maybe they see it more as an opportunity of linking to new characters rather than thinking of it as totally based on Rey. I mean, I would expect to see
I wouldn't mind that if she was the linchpin between what we're something that from the existing group of films to bring us to a new generation of films. Don't have an issue with that. It's the fact that they think it's essential. So that's effectively saying that she has to be front and center focus in my eyes.
I think it's probably been phrased wrongly by the media, hasn't it? Really, I think I would be surprised if we didn't have certainly BB-8 in there. It's always easy to do. It's always easy to do your costumed characters, so it'd be great to see Chewie again. It'd be great to be see 3PO and R2. Who knows? I mean, I'd like to think the wound that John Boyega looked as if he had for Star Wars seems to be healing. I'd like to see John Boyega again because I thought he was great as Finn. But again, great in episode 7, very much diminished in 8 and 9, and therefore.
But does that not tell you what the problem is, in that you've ended up with just one character?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you had a whole trilogy to build a whole generation of new characters for people to love. To move forward with a whole group of new characters, and you've ended up with one character.
Well, they kind of gave it that separation right at the end of 9, didn't they, as well? With Rey being...
at the end of 9, they basically advertised it and promoted it as, this is it, this is the end. Which is a ridiculous thing to do when you've got a franchise.
But they did that with Jedi. Really, you know.
Then it was what, 20 plus years of in this, in terms of movies. So you can understand that was the plan, but obviously they knew at 9 they weren't stopping making films, so why promote it as the end? It's like dereliction of duty is how I see it.
I don't know whether I don't know whether it's as solid an ending as that, though. I think it was, she's returned to the Lars homestead to bury the sabers of Luke and Leia, which is almost sort of ceremonial.
It is, if that's the end of the Skywalker saga, but then you go and call her Rey Skywalker, so you're not ending the saga.
Well, this is why I think it'd be really cool to bring in some offspring from Luke and Mara Jade, whether they go down the old route, I don't know. I agree, Jonathan. So I think this will be a way to sort of not necessarily follow the exact blueprints that are laid out in some of the Legends stuff as it's now become, but they can bring a character in. This can be like a new Skywalker lineage, which is kind of what they were hinting at by calling Rey a Skywalker. My son found out how that film was going to end, and he said, if this is the ending, I am going to walk out of that cinema and I will not be able to speak. The ending came up. I looked at Matthew. He looked straight ahead. He stood up and he walked out of that cinema disgusted. And Matthew at the time was in his teens, late teens. So, even as a young fan, he wasn't he saw the effect of what episode 9 actually did. Um, yeah, I just think this is a real good opportunity to rescue the name of Skywalker.
To me, what's essential to the future of Star Wars is to completely wipe the slate clean and
Yeah,
effectively start again. Let's just say we're going to start a new storyline with new characters with no connections to the past and move forward. And it's
yeah.
effectively a admission. Look, that was our storyline. Whether you like it or not, that's what it was. But you have to acknowledge the mistakes that you've made.
We've
And
had mixed results.
I think if you focus a new trilogy on Rey, you are not acknowledging the mistakes that you have made.
Yeah, yeah. I think she will feature. She will feature heavily, and she may only feature heavily in the first one. Who knows? But I think that for a lot of people to be on board with it, there's got to be a link.
Yeah. I just think I
Especially,
didn't have an issue when it was a single film, and it
yeah,
was like, okay, so there's fans of Rey the character, they've got something to look forward to. I think if you're going to build a whole trilogy around her, it doesn't work
yeah,
for me. And I think the fact that you've struggled to come up with a single idea that you like for a single film for Rey,
yeah.
and now you're looking to make a trilogy, just makes no sense to me.
Perhaps they were really struggling to land what they wanted to
Yeah.
do with that single film.
I don't
That's
know.
why
And just the fact that they're turning it Simon Kinberg as well, who's every idea that he's contributed so far has been rejected based on the fact
yeah.
that he hasn't received a writing credit in any of the work that he's done at Lucasfilm. He got 2 thank you credits, I think.
Yeah.
Um, that doesn't make sense. The whole thing doesn't make sense. Just
Is it a bad one today, folks?
oh no. But is it the only direction they've got left to go, Lucasfilm?
No, of course not. Of course not. And I still maintain that we need to go forward rather than go back. Because whenever we try to go back, the Acolyte's a classic example. Because you've set that before the prequels, and that is canon. Then although there's a significant amount of time, about 100 years between that and the Phantom Menace, the events of the Acolyte still have some impact on the overall Star Wars story.
Yeah.
So, it's a tricky one. I would rather move forward. I would rather either do a continuation 10, 11, 12 in that same sort of time period, following on from the events of episode 9, albeit a few years later, or like you say, completely do something new. I mean, The Mandalorian has saved Star Wars in many ways. Certainly the first 2 seasons did anyway. Not so much about the third. But how that will dovetail into things, again,
That's kind of interesting you bring the Mandalorian up, because if that movie does well,
yeah.
is it a one and done film? Or
Not if
if
it
that movie
does,
does well, surely they're going to want to make more. But
absolutely.
it depends, obviously, what the storyline is. Maybe they kill the Mandalorian off.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, if that is a huge success, then they'd be stupid not to capitalize on it. But again, it's going to come down to the story, the story choices they make. Who knows what happens to Grogu? Um, like you've said before, Brian, it'd be nice to see like a teenage Grogu, albeit what is a teenage Grogu? 80 years old. That would be quite cool to see him involved in some way in potentially 10, 11, and 12 if they go down that route.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of opportunities, ways that they can link these different properties together and come up with something that would work. That could be the plot driver, that Grogu somehow is involved with the Rey storyline, and somebody that was initially associated with Grogu comes along to sort of spoil the party, if you like. But it's not for us to worry about. We've just got to go along and critique it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what we're good at.
Exactly.
On that point, it's the end for this week's Java's Court. Obviously, Java's Court's part of Good Morning Tatooine. It live streams every Sunday at 9 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. in New York, and it's released every Wednesday on Fantatrax TV. Paul, bear with me 2 seconds because I'm going to try now to fix my camera up here because it's starting to annoy me. There it is.
Always live, unless it's pre-recorded.
I fixed it. Right, let's see if I can change it here.
Switching over. Here we go.
Oh,
He's back.
Broken one.
Oh no,
live one.
Oh,
yes, working. I don't know what I've done. Everything's breaking. Terrible. You can tell we're live.
Oh dear, brilliant stuff.
Let's continue with the news. D23 in Brazil. How much I wish I was back in Brazil.
Oh, bless you. Yeah.
Great place to have a convention. We have to go 1 year.
Oh yeah,
first
definitely.
international D23, I think it was, took place in Brazil in the past couple of weeks. And the big story, Star Wars wise, that came out of it was Andor has a new name. It is now Andor, a Star Wars story. And it also has a release date for its second season, which is a lot earlier than I think a lot of people were anticipating. It's going to arrive on the platform on the 22nd of April, which fantastically is just a couple of days after Star Wars Celebration. So those of you going to Japan may just get a little invite along to a screening.
I think that's exactly what will happen. Yeah.
Just there. If I could put a bet on it, I think I'd be winning money.
Yeah, definitely.
Excited for Andor Season 2?
Absolutely.
That's the kind of thing that is essential to the future of Star Wars, which has been talking on Java's Court, is original characters, being able to take those original characters and build more content from them, and do something different and special and memorable.
Yeah. Sadly, they kind of boxed themselves in there with this one because of it leading up to the original A New Hope. So, had this have been set in a
birthday, what a present that is.
Oh, there you go. A very lucky dad.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shame that this can only ever go so far because we've already lost Cassian at the end of Rogue One.
It was just a bright light.
Yeah, there you go, Brian. They
call it the Death Star, but it's just a big ball of fluff.
Yes. So what happens in the final 3 episodes? They invent this thing where they can beam off a planet, and it's this big bright white light. Brilliant! You've solved everything. We're going forward. It's great stuff. Fantastic.
Obviously, Cassian Andor is a terrorist. And we found out in the first season that he stole the public sector workers' wages. Really nasty guy. Low-life scumbag that he is. Krennic. Director Krennic is back in this one.
A big favourite of yours. Yeah.
Do you think this is a time the Imperials can get the upper hand?
Well, I'm sure that's what you're hoping. I mean, he's a hero of yours, isn't he, Mr. Krennic?
He is. Anyone that wears a cape.
Yeah, I'm glad he's back on board. I think this is going to be a fantastic second season. We're going to see K2SO. We're going to see him, how Andor meets him, how he gets to reprogram him. I'm hoping that we get to see quite a bit of Daniel Mays' character, the one that's killed off right at the beginning of Rogue One, because he's a great actor. It would be such a shame not to utilize his skills and really show a strong connection between him and Cassian, so that death then at the beginning of Rogue One has got more resonance to it, because at the moment it's just somebody that we vaguely know and he kills. I think that they're really strongly allied, potentially in the final 3 episodes, because as it says in the text there, it's going to be basically a year for every 3 episodes, so covering a 4-year period. Majorly looking forward to it. Everything I've seen so far, the pictures, the tiny bits of trailer that we've seen, it's going to be amazing.
He was
definitely.
obviously killed because he was a traitor to the democratically elected Galactic Empire.
I think he was more killed because he probably got loose lips, and the fact that he couldn't climb out of there with his broken arm, he thought, well, I'm gonna have to
All I
kill him.
know that if you're the Galactic Empire, you're a pretty well-oiled ship and a good bunch of people if you can have your leaders dress all in white, because you're keeping the streets clean if you can have them dress all in white. So that's all I'm saying.
Is it though? I'm sure it's more of it's a bit of a creamy color to it.
Well, it's an off-white. It's an off-white.
It'll be interesting to see because I forget where I saw it. It might have been on some Fantatrax material or it might have been elsewhere, but there's there's the opportunity here for Krennic and Dedramira to have some sort of exchanges, which could be quite interesting.
Do you think there's going to be a love triangle between Cyril and Krennic and Deidre?
Oh, hey, yeah, that's a point. Yeah, that'd be cool.
There's got to be a reason why they don't end up in Rogue One alongside Krennic.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, not thought about that. Yeah, let's but or maybe we might see them jet off together, and then we can bring them back older into other into other Star Wars stuff later on.
Do you think
I would,
we'll see more of Mon Mothma, perhaps Bail Organa, formulate their terrible plot to take over democracy?
yeah, I think we'll see Palpatine. I think we'll see Vader. I even think that we will see, even if we don't see a lot of him, I think we'll see a bit of Tarkin. I think there's all sorts of things that will turn up in this that'll they will be deemed to be fan service, but I think they will be for the right reason rather than just throwing them.
If you do it in a limited enough form, I would love to see Palpatine there. Decry the end of democracy. That would be great. Just because he gave a great speech about when he got deformed by the religious cult of the Jedi to the Senate about how he would maintain restore justice, peace and justice to the galaxy under the First Galactic Empire. I would like to see another impassioned speech about his betrayal by Mon Mothma and Bail Organa. It would be a nice foreshadowing of the justice imposed upon Alderaan by having Palpatine speak out against them in the Senate prior to Alderaan's destruction.
I'm still struggling with religious cults.
He's just an all-round good chap, as Palpatine, that's all I'm saying. Never once have you ever seen Palpatine do anything bad. That's all I'm saying. Not once. Not a thing.
I think there's been a few minor indiscretions, Brian.
Name one, I could justify them all. He's the one time he might have had one issue was accidentally lightning came out of his fingers by mistake. But other than that, but to be fair, it was a religious zealot that he struck.
Are you telling me that was more of an allergic reaction than intentional?
Well, to be fair, his right-hand man and Mr. Lord Vader had just announced his intention to once again destroy democracy by taking over ruling with his son. Nepotism.
Nepotism in the workplace.
Yeah. Did Palpatine ever employ his child to take over from him? No, he wasn't elected, so it didn't happen.
Well, I mean, my thought process is that Anakin is very much Palpatine's child, but we won't go there.
No, better not. But that's coming out of D23 Brazil. We've got to look forward to more stories on the central terrorist in the destruction of the democratically elected empire. And talking of that, we can see some moving images of democracy coming to an end. And this D23, sorry, this Disney Plus trailer promoting what's coming to the platform in 2025.
I got something coming up. Something kind of big.
It just feels like the one.
Let's make it worth it.
Excellent.
Sometimes your work family is closer to you than your family family.
This could be a real adventure.
A crew of murderous pirates is coming.
I found the president lying next to his bed.
Did you kill him?
I have one rule. Stay out of the basement. This ship collected specimens on faraway moon. Monsters.
I want to build something iconic.
How far are you willing to go to get what you want?
By the look of it, you've come up in the world. I wonder if your darker half would agree.
What's up? It's Russ Holiday, former quarterback. But I'm not done with football.
You get to decide who you are.
My name's Chad Powers.
Your family was fostering a little girl.
We're supposed to be on the same team.
True that we are on the same team.
She's not who she says she is.
Is there no one who can help us?
We need a pilot.
You're thinking like a thief.
I'm thinking like a soldier.
Think like a leader.
Something big is about to happen.
Let's bring them home.
All of this world, everything's changed.
So, effectively, that's promoting Hulu coming to Disney Plus next year, I guess. I think they're merging in America. I forget what's happening. But a lot of good shows, but in terms of volume compared to what you used to get on Disney Plus, it's not a lot of new content either for a whole annual year.
Yeah. Is there anything else in there other than Andor that you're looking forward to?
Well, this is the thing. It's going to be the only Star Wars new content we get next year. Don't count animation. Could be some more animation, but it's going to be over and done by the end of May.
Yeah.
What are you going to? What's the point in paying a subscription for the next 6 months?
Well, I suppose for many
Book of
people,
Boba Fett, because obviously you can't get that on DVD. That's the only reason it says stay subscribed.
yeah,
That's why they're holding out. That's why it's not on DVD. I've just exposed the reality, the truth, what's going on. It's to keep you on the platform.
I kind of like the Book of Boba Fett.
Never a Power Rangers fan.
I think for many people now, they, when it comes to TV and film, people have accepted that more of a streaming thing these days than owning physical copies. So for me, I suppose Disney Plus, as well as being somewhere to watch new content, is a library of pre-existing stuff. So I'm more likely to go and watch The Empire Strikes Back on Disney Plus than I am to drag a dusty old DVD player or Blu-ray player out of a box and plug it in.
I think that streaming has destroyed television, where we used to have great TV that used to run for 22 episodes and you would have 4 or 5 great shows a week. And you would have TV all year round. And you would have series continue year after year after year. Now you've got to wait multiple years between series. You've got 6 to 8 episodes as being pretty much standard. The amount of money they're throwing at it is ridiculous. And yet we're getting less content, poorer content. And I think we'll find that more and more streaming services start to disappear in the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, we've obviously got
content. It's great because you can just, what will I find? I'll just go hunting for something fantastic. As a platform for new content, it's been an absolute disaster.
There's a lot of parallels between Marvel and Star Wars as well, though, there, isn't there? Because Marvel has, in many ways, because of the the story arc that happened with the Avengers and everything else, they've used up effectively all their good characters, the ones that people that have grown up with and have got a lot of affinity to.
And they've done a lot of one series and done shows.
Yeah, yeah.
They've actually mentioned at D23 Brazil that they're going to stop doing that. They are going to do multiple season shows.
Yeah, and as well, I think it's a recent development as a result of all the problems that they had with the strike actions. Have they now also decided that the days of like 24 episode seasons, they're gone, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about just the Disney Plus stuff. I'm talking about in general. So you're only ever likely to get 8 at a push, 10 episodes, 12 episodes.
Well, they brought back Keith or Sutherland's 24 and did it over 8 hours, didn't they? It's just like an 8-hour show. It's like called 24, and we just only came up with 8 episodes. That's when everyone should have been like, "What's going on here?
This isn't right." Yeah, exactly. But of the stuff that was sort of mentioned in that resume of different programs, etc., I'm really interested in seeing what Alien Earth is like.
Yeah, Jonathan Tyson mentioned that, and he also mentioned there that Timothy Oliphant's been cast in the Alien Earth series as well, which he's doing great guns as an actor at the moment.
Yeah. I'd love to see more of Cobb Vanth as well. I thought he was really good in that role. Fantastic. Yep. But yeah, we'll see.
We saw a little bit of Skeleton Crew in that trailer, and our next story, we've got a name to the soundtrack. Who's producing it?
Little Mick.
Little Mick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this goes back to you talking about nepetism in the workplace.
I don't know his body of work, to be perfectly honest. So I can't judge.
No, I mean, we're all going to find out at the beginning of December what tonally, not tonally, what his work will be like. But the hints are that the soundtrack to this will be unlike anything that we've heard in the past.
A little bit like Willow.
Let's not go there.
Again, you can't get that on Disney Plus. It's actually the original Willow film's coming out on 4K DVD in December.
I saw that. Yeah, no mention of the series that followed it. No mention at all. But yeah, this will be interesting. I suppose in a way it's kind of nice that they've kept the family link. But I mean, we've discussed in the past who is the natural successor to John Williams, and I kind of like the idea that they won't actually find somebody. I think trying different people out for different shows is probably the way to go forward. Good luck to him. I mean, he doesn't look very old, does he? I would say, what is he? Late 20s, early 30s?
Maybe it's a good thing for the targeted age group of the film to bring someone in that age group.
Yeah.
That's something different and fresh.
Yeah, exactly.
If you were the studio, Lucasfilm, and you were promoting Skeleton Crew coming out on December the 3rd, what would you do in the weeks leading up to it?
Well, that's a good question. I'd probably have some, because for the most part, these are young actors that we're unfamiliar with. I would do some interview slots with them. I would do the same sort of thing that when we had the round tables for the Mandalorian, where they did that, something like that. I'd sort of get to know the kids behind it, sort of thing.
And that's why you're not at Lucasfilm, because their idea is, let's promote Andor. So this coming week, Empire Magazine's doing their 2025 preview, and it's going Star Wars Andor heavy with front cover and as well the subscriber cover as well. Go to fantatracks.com to check that out.
That looks really cool. That does look cool.
And this story, Paul, interview with Tony Gilroy here.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I think I've not met him, but I've certainly been in the same room as him. His passion for Star Wars is clear, you know, and this is where some of these things have gone horribly wrong. I'm thinking particularly the Acolyte, where people just wanted to sort of ignore any sort of help and just sort of plow their own furrow with Star Wars. Tony totally gets it. He embraced what needed to be done in Rogue One. Andor is like so up there in terms of production value. And yet, if you go back to watching season 1 of Andor, there's not really a lot of Star Wars in it. It just feels tonally right. We saw very few TIE fighters. We didn't really see a lot going on in space, to be honest. Other than that fantastic bit with Luthen Rail when he spanned that ship and he had essentially like lightsabers coming out of it, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it just felt right. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. I've got absolutely no doubt Andor season 2 will be yet again standout Star Wars, definitely.
And obviously there in the cover we've got director Krennic.
Yeah.
They're standing in front of the Senate, the home of democracy of the Galactic Empire. Just to point that out, people hadn't noticed. But there's a good chance we're going to see inside the Senate a lot bit more, so that excites me.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, this is the right way to do the politics. This is where, in many ways, episode 1 fell down because it went to the dreary side. This goes political in an aggressive way.
Yeah.
And that would have been much more sort of welcome and impactful had that have been the way that the prequel trilogy had gone. But different times. So
yeah.
But yeah, exciting.
When you support oh, it's stuck. There we go. When you support terrorists, this is the kind of thing that happens. You get StarWars.com's Gift the Galaxy. They're horrendous annual gift ideas for Christmas where they come up with some of the most appalling Star Wars products out there and try and convince you to buy them. So this is week 1. Quite often it's got different names. They've done ones for the Mandalorian and so on, but this is the second year of Gift the Galaxy. First up,
oh dear,
like that in your home?
No, not really.
No time for that. Christmas tree topped off with a sparkling gold star. No,
fantastic. No.
Continuing it, you can have a Fisher Price Star Wars R2D2 with C-3PO with mega muscles.
As he should have.
Yeah.
Is that Darth Vader as well in there, or is that Kylo Ren? Who's that?
I have no idea.
There's somebody in the middle there, isn't there?
Don't think it is.
Is it not? No.
R2D2 was Dark Heart. So you've got that as a choice. Talking of Darth Vader, there's nothing more Christmassy than a stocking hanger with Darth Vader on it.
No thanks.
No. Star Wars lightsaber Forge Force Color Master lightsaber by Hasbro. So good they called it lightsaber twice. That's not a bad present, to be fair.
What's that gold? What's that gold thing to the right of it? What's that?
That's like one of these High Republic era kind of. Yeah, something for Mr. Newbold.
I think that's for a toddler. I don't think that's going to fit Mr. Newbold.
Well, he can grow into it.
We'll give it to Kev. Kev can have
that. Just horrific. Star Wars Adorables. A New Village.
I like that.
Do you? For some reason, it's got Yoda.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Drain the swamp. It's the common phrase. And it drain the swamp of Dagobah.
I think it's the ghost of Yoda from at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
All the Ewoks look like they've been drugged. That's all I'm saying. Look at their eyes.
Yeah, they look more like those. Oh, there's those slow creatures, isn't there? Not sloths. Anyway, yeah, the bush babies. They look like
Yes,
those.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good idea. Yeah, not impressed. Getting worse. This week was really just like, how can you upset Brian week on Gift of Galaxy? 1,138 Lego bricks to make C-3PO.
No, that's a
You know that they
deliberate
were at
number.
1,110 and like, oh, we're going to have to eke this out for another 28 bricks.
Yeah, well, they've got to because of THX, haven't they? That's what they've done there. THX 1138. That's what they've gone with.
You can recreate memorable poses like C-3PO exclaiming, "Oh dear."
Do we get an alternate bag of bricks to make a red arm as well?
Yeah, it should be, shouldn't there? That's a good point.
Yeah, definitely.
Star Wars Joy to the Galaxy 12-day holiday advent calendar, because they couldn't do all the days, could they?
Nah, just do 12.
We'll just do 12.
Yeah.
So you've got to start your countdown on December 14th.
Are they just cardboard cutouts?
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah. Nah. Tat.
Yeah. They're all decorated in holiday garb.
Fantastic.
You can also listen to an exclusive sneak peek of Cavan Scott's latest tale in the High Republic if you head over to StarWars.com and check out the gift guide. Tempest Breaker is coming. Cavan Scott's going to have a cameo in it himself with a voice, and I believe his daughter as well plays one of the characters in his latest audiobook.
That's cool. I like that.
And last but not least, from her universe, boop, beep, boop, beep, R2-D2 jumper, which was the exact phrase that started the downfall of Cara Dune. That's all I can say. So if you hate someone and you want them to get sacked from their job, this is the jumper for them.
I quite like that jumper, Bri. I might get that.
I might get you it for your Christmas.
Thank you. I want to sit here wearing it for a future episode, definitely.
Yeah,
I've got
that's the one where your camera breaks and not mine. And that is this week's holiday gift guide, Paul. Would you believe it? And,
well, exciting times.
With just one last story to do.
Yes. Let's go for it. So, Skeleton Crew, another teaser trailer has landed.
Yeah.
I must admit, the more that I see of this, the more intrigued I am. I still have some reservations as to whether this is going to be Star Warsy enough, or maybe too much aimed at children. But we'll see. We'll
have a look at the teaser.
Let's go for it.
Don't you ever want to do anything exciting?
That was my shot!
Whoa!
A few little clips there. Neil, do you still want to shoot him in the face, Paul?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought so.
I want to shoot him in the face, and I want to be able to part my hair the way he does, but that's not going to happen. Let's be honest.
We've got a month to grow it out. You could have that in time for Christmas.
And then dye it blue.
Yeah. Neil seems to be ever as popular on social media. I just want him to have a tragic end. That's all I ask for.
I'm hoping he gets caught by his dungarees somewhere. You know that his clothing choice lets him down big time, and that then he's dead by episode 2. That's a wish, but it's not going to happen, is it?
No, I don't think so.
Neil toys everywhere.
I don't think so. That brings us to the end of the show. It's been a jam-packed show with full of problems and technical glitches that are going to continue until Apple supply me with my new computer that they've lost.
It's the problems that make it good.
It's not like I haven't been waiting a month for it already. Anyway, we could talk all night about my problems, or we could...
Maybe that could be in a spin-off show.
We could. Next week's spin-off show. But let's do some promos. If you're looking for daily Star Wars news, check out fathertracks.com for everything covering the films, television, collecting, fashion, gaming, literature, music, art, Lots of interviews, event coverage, podcasts, and reviews.
We've got social media coming out of our ears. We've got Instagram, Facebook, Threads, X, formerly known as Twitter, and TikTok. We've got Star Wars covered for you, no matter what social media you enjoy. And don't forget Phantom Tracks Radio. What have we got coming up this week, Brian? Do you know off the top of your head?
We've just had an episode of Making Tracks drop.
Yeah.
So
is that live from London?
It was. I'm just going to look it up because you've asked a question. I'm now going to have to get the facts because we don't have Mr. Newbold in the chat today.
I know that the two Marks were both in London, weren't they? So there's a chance that they recorded something while they were there.
Well, let's just put pressure on them and say that we're expecting.
We're awaiting that, and we want it in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah. But if you go on to Phantom Tracks Radio at the moment, you'll get the latest episode of Making Tracks is from FanX live. It's a Phantom Menace panel from that show, so you can check that out.
I can exclusively reveal that the next vehicle that will be covered by Start Your Engines is the Blockade Runner. And Mark and I will be recording that in the days to come.
The ship that started the end of democracy. And you can check out Phantom Tracks TV on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and X. Good Morning Tatooine every Sunday. Episodes of Jabba's Court and Phantom Arcade when I get my new computer. Come on, Apple.
This Phantom Arcade thing, it's sort of like,
it's become a thing now. It's going to happen. I'm going to launch it for the Indiana Jones computer game, I think. That's my target now. It's become a thing, so we'll have to make it happen.
Sponsored by Cypher DS. Never to be seen.
Absolutely. What can I say? Let down by the biggest corporation in the world.
What do you
and
like?
I'm just going to shame them every week until they get their finger out and deliver a computer.
Oh dear. So one of these weeks we're going to get brought down mid-show. Okay.
Yeah, probably. Taken off air with the power of Tim Cook. Paul, it's been a pleasure having you on the show as always this week. Talking everything Star Wars. Will we come back next Sunday and do it again?
Yeah, let's do it. Why not?
I'll see you there.
Okie doke. See ya. Bye, everyone. And it's good night from him. Goodbye. Yeah. Hey.
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on fanthatracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at Fantha Tracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow Phantom Tracks TV to be alerted to new content and to be a part of our live shows.